I could remember back in grade school, I remember taking spelling tests. And every spelling test that I took, I always had an 80 or above. Every spelling test that I had, it was at least 20 words on my spelling test. And I had to study from Monday to Friday. The teacher always gives us the spelling words on a Monday, and we take the spelling test on Friday. And I can remember that I mastered studying for the spelling test. I did not memorize the words. I made sure that I gained wisdom when I looked at each word. I can remember that I had a formula that I had that would help me learn the words and learn what they meant instead of memorizing the words. And I will practice that same formula that made me successful in every spelling test. I will master that formula. And every time I applied that formula, I gained more and more experience. More and more experience, and I mastered the formula. Because the formula was not just helping me memorize the words. The formula was helping me research the word and get the definition of the word. Because if I can get the definition of the word, if I can get that wisdom of each word, it would be more easier for me to take the test. And I can remember that one week I got so lazy that I did not want to practice my formula all week long. And on that Friday that we was going to take the spelling test, I can remember that on my way to school, I started looking at the words and I tried to memorize the words. But I could not memorize the words. Because all this time I was applying a formula that I had created that was helping me gain wisdom from each word. And when we took the test on that Friday and the teachers gave us back the results, I failed the test. I had a 55. Every single week prior to that, I always had an 85 above because I practiced and I mastered the formula. And that particular Friday, I was upset and I was disappointed in myself because I knew better, but I was too lazy to follow the formula. I was too lazy to apply the wisdom that I have gained from the formula. I was too lazy to develop myself from that experience of learning and mastering the formula. And ever since then, I always made sure that everything I done or everything I have did or everything that I'm doing has a formula. And that formula that I use, I must master whatever I apply the formula to. Every time I do something different, I always create a different formula. Because not every formula is going to work on every thing or every type of thing that you are working on. But I made sure that I apply a formula. And I made sure that I mastered the formula so that I can gain experience whatever I was doing. And I looked at that and I was like, wow, a lot of times we as Christians and as believers, we forget that we went through something. We forget that we went through a period of financial troubles, a period of stress, a period of situations and circumstances, and we forget that we have experience in it. We forget that if it comes up again, we already have the experience to apply to the circumstance or situation, whatever we're going through, where we forget that we have the experience to apply a formula. We forget that we have this wisdom and understanding of what we already been through, so that it would be easier for us to navigate our way through each circumstance and situation that we been through. And I said to myself, why is it so easy for us to keep going over around that same bend, around that same circle, and we're not moving outside of that circle? But we are still inside that circle. We are still going around the same thing because we have not applied what we previously experienced in that same place. We forget that Daniel, in everything he did, it worked out for his favor for the next day, for the next week, for the next month. So everything he did in his life, every circumstance, every situation, he gained experience from it. Every time he had an experience with God, he gained from it. He learned from it. And that's why we as Christians, if we just apply a formula, if we just apply the experience of what we learned, we will gain victory. We will not have to go around that same circle, that same time that we had done in the previous. It would be more easier for us to navigate. It would be more easier for us to work our way through. We won't be saying the same prayer every single time we go through that circle. But we will be able to say different prayers because we know how to navigate. We know because of the last experience, we applied a great formula to our circumstance, our situations, our problems, our financial issue, our relational issues, our marital issues. If we just apply what we experienced, we will go through it. We will abound in it. We will have success in every area of our lives if we just apply a formula. Everything I do, I apply a formula. When I'm out working, when I'm out handling my business, or whatever I put my hands to do, I always make sure I apply a formula. I always make sure that I look at the circumstance and the situation and I see if I've been through it before, I have experience in it. If I've been through it before, then I must have a formula for that same thing, that particular thing. So I pray that you got an understanding of this and apply experience to your circumstances. You may be on a mountaintop, and that's all right. That's all right to be up in the mountaintop, because you gain so much experience on the mountain. Your mind is open to understanding, to thinking when you're on the mountaintop. But when you're in a valley situation, you tend to stress yourself or worry, and you fall short when you worry, and you don't apply what you learned on the mountain in your valley experience, or even through your wilderness, or even walking through the hot situation, the desert. We, as Christians, we are here as students, and we learn from the master teacher, and that is Christ. We learn from him. We should not be high-minded to where we think we are the teacher, but we are all students, and Christ is the master teacher.